Listen, I don't want to talk about it. You don't want to talk about it, but we got to talk about it, okay? Pull up a chair, get your coffee, get your tea, get your muffin, get your oatmeal. I had oatmeal this morning. And it's time to talk about a topic that we a lot of times do not want to discuss. And the time to begin discussing it is long before you need it, way before then. Sonia Gallen Comunica here, SoniaGallenComunica.com, and the author of 10 Things I Wish I Knew as a Single Parent, where we talk about all things single parents. We talk about your finances, and we try to make kids safe by educating their parents. Today we're going to talk about a topic that should be discussed before couples even get married. In the beginning stages, when you're first talking about planning a life together, that sort of thing. These are things you want to talk about. I don't want to talk about it either, I know, but it has to be talked about, and it helps actually with planning. It might feel like it's not romantic, but that doesn't really matter because you got to plan. Because especially if you want to have a family, you want to have long-term and generational goals, and you don't know what's going to happen within a relationship 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the road. So you want to have planning done long before you need it. So today we're going to be talking about preparing for divorce or death. And I know none of us want to prepare for that, but that is the reality, unfortunately. You've got a 50 to 70% chance on one, and you got a 100% chance of the other. There's definitely going to be some death. So you got to prepare for this stuff. And the only way to do that is to have discussions in advance and to plan how you want to live your life and live the life with your children should you decide to have children. So today we've got 10 steps of preparation for non-married and married couples. And some people, maybe you came up with one plan prior to marriage and you want to go back and tweak it a little bit. That's okay. I mean, we saw during President Trump's during his inauguration and his presidency that Melania Trump had to go make some tweaks to their prenuptial agreement, some tweaks to things they had planned in advance. And that is fine. That's normal. That's part of being an adult and having a discussion. So, number one in preparing for divorce or death is you got to have a prenuptial agreement. It is truly the best tool of preparation. Do you know why? Because you're clear-headed. It helps you decide what's going to happen in the event of a divorce or death. And the death is 100% guaranteed. Somebody's going to pass away. So it helps you decide, are we going to live here? Is this person going to live there? What's going to happen with the children? And it also helps you decide what you're going to receive from the marriage, should you be married to somebody wealthy, of course. That is a very good thing to plan, because if you try to work that out when you're in the process of a divorce and you're fighting and hating each other, it's going to be extremely difficult to do.
I'm sorry.
Number two, plan for the divorce and death while you are happy. That is the best time because everyone's clear-headed. They're more willing to work through things, to come up with a discussion, to come up with a plan. Nothing wrong with planning. Planning is actually a very wonderful thing. It can even be a plan for in the event there's sickness. What are you going to do if that person becomes ill? That sort of thing. Setting money aside for that. So planning is a very good tool. It's a wonderful skill to have. And if you are marrying somebody or considering marrying somebody who you can't even have a conversation with, that should be a red flag right there. I think this is one of the reasons why you have a lot of premarital counseling. And these are some of the things to even discuss during premarital counseling is what about this? What about that? And I know sometimes people think, well, if we live together for 5 years, 7 years, whatever in advance, we know each other. But when you get married, it's a totally different ballgame. The man takes on a whole new persona. The woman takes on a whole new persona. So you want to really think about this and plan it in advance. Number three, wealthy individuals. Wealthy individuals should decide who keeps the main home and who keeps the vacation home. And this is a fun part of preparing, because in the event of a divorce or death, you got this in writing now. You get the main home, you get the vacation home, swap, whichever. And it's all going to depend on what stage in your life you're at. But it's nice to have those options as well, too. So you want to plan it out. It shows courtesy for the other person. It's kindness. It's a great way to live your life when you know there is a plan. We plan for our businesses. We plan for our retirement. We plan for other things. Why not plan for the different stages of a relationship? Things that can happen that you might not necessarily want to happen, but they unfortunately do happen. And we're seeing a lot more and more of this recently. I just saw somebody who had this amazing, elaborate wedding, and they're already getting divorced 1.5 years, 2 years into the marriage. So you don't plan for it. It does happen. So make sure you've got a plan. If there are children, number 4, the children stay in the home and the parents take turns moving in and out of the home. So, for instance, you are sharing custody of the children. They don't need to be uprooted and living at dad's house this week, mom's house this week. Instead, the children stay in the main home, and maybe Sunday through Wednesday, dad is in the home. Maybe Thursday through Saturday, mom stays in the home. You know, any variation of that. But the children need to have stability, and you all alternate where you're living during the week. And that way, that should make for a happy home as well. And this is also part of just maturity. Number 5, you want to set aside a money market account with a high yield for divorce or death. So that account is set up to be used in the event somebody passes away, in the event there is a divorce. It makes it easier to manage the money and to separate it, of course. So it should be an account just for that. It's not to be used for emergencies. It's not to be used for your monthly expenses. It is just for the event of divorce and death. Set it aside. You can maybe set it up with the bank. You might need an attorney to set it up that way, but either way, just set up an account in the event that things don't go as planned. Number 6, if the income has changed significantly within the marriage and there was not a prenuptial agreement, or the prenuptial agreement is not adequate to address the current situation, then a postnuptial agreement, I know a lot of people are doing right now. So you go out, you create a plan, you say, this is what we're going to do. This is maybe what we originally had. We need to update it a little bit. We're going to do one now based on our current, maybe you received an inheritance, maybe you have insurance. So you never know. Anything could happen. Maybe your business soared, you weren't expecting it to. Things got really, really good, and here you are. So a postnuptial agreement would be the next stage in that. That's number 6. And then number 7, you want to speak with a great trust attorney to automate all of this. So divorce or death, you want to make sure it's all lined out. If you have a business, you want it to continue on for generations. So you would need a trust attorney anyway. And you want to ensure that any money passed on to the children in the event of death is done automatically. So they come in, sit down with them, and you want to avoid as much probate as possible. So definitely get a good trust attorney and plan it out. I mean, even if you won the lottery or something, you're going to need plans for these things. I mean, you obviously weren't planning to win whatever. So you could suddenly come into a huge amount, a windfall of money, and you need a plan for that money. So you're preparing for that during divorce or death. And you don't want to prepare for this stuff after it happens because people's behaviors tend to change. Number 8, and probably one of my favorites, is find your passion and do something productive daily. No matter what happens, you want to have something that you believe in, that you enjoy on a daily basis. Because whether it's divorce or death, you don't want to lose yourself in the process. You want to make sure that you have the best part of yourself as well. You want to make sure you're enjoying life and you have something to fall back on in the event your spouse becomes ill or any sort of challenges that can come. It can be divorce, it could be death as well. And a sudden illness causes this person to no longer be with us. So you want to make sure you have a passion and you're doing something productive every day. That's number 8. Number 9, you want to create a post-divorce or death giving plan for charities. Maybe you were always giving to charities throughout your marriage, and now some things have changed. I mean, hopefully your financial situation is improving, so you can still give to charities. A lot of people set it up to give to charities after they die, but there are new programs with the life insurance companies where you can set it up, where you can give to them right now. You can start blessing people today. So you want to create a post-divorce death giving plan to charities in the event things don't work out the way you plan. You still want to be able to give. These charities are depending on these donations. So it's always good to have a plan in advance. And you can even have this plan before you even get married. You should be talking about the charities that you believe in even before you get married. So that's number 9. And then number 10, you know me, set up those life insurance policies, of course. The life insurance is probably the easiest thing during death because it goes to the beneficiary. And when you have those policies, you can set up one that's irrevocable. You might want to do that with divorce or death because when you're not getting along, the first thing you're probably going to want to do is change your beneficiary. So you can set one up where no matter what happens, you still get a portion if you've been married, 15 years, whatever. Or you can set up revocable ones where you can change the beneficiary, change who receives what. But these are things you want to discuss when everyone's happy. pre-divorce. So preparing for divorce, preparing for death. You want to have these discussions early on. Hope this was very helpful. Again, Sonia Gallion Comunica, SoniaGallionComunica.com, and the author of 10 Things I Wish I Knew as a Single Parent, where we talk about all things single parents. And I hope you have an amazing day.